Welcome to our podcast. This is your host Oscar. We are here today to talk to you about the new democracy that the future president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, wants to create. Today we have a special guest, Francisco Cavada, who is going to talk to us about this new democracy that is going to reach our country. First, Francisco, I'd like to ask you, what do you think about the way our democracy is doing right now? I mean, we have the right to choose the candidate we think is going to do better for Mexico. Do you think we did the right call to choose Peña Nieto? Was he a good president?
Enrique Peña Nieto won the election to presidency due to a good democracy in 2012. Our democracy today is there and has a good structure. The problem is that it hasn't been used to its full potential. Peña Nieto's government hasn't been the best, with some of his decisions being made during his presidency.
The government of AMLO hasn't started yet and he's already making decisions for the country. This week will be held a survey of whether or not should a new airport be constructed. This survey is open for every citizen in Mexico. After consulting Mexican and foreign experts about this new airport, AMLO decides to do this survey. What are your thoughts on AMLO? Do you think he's right to let the people choose?
Yeah, I think that in a way it's okay to do a survey and let the people decide if they want to build the new airport. But what concerns me the most is that the majority of the people don't know if it's in the best interest of the country or not to accept this new airport project. I think that AMLO and his political advisors should make the decision whether to accept it or reject it, depending on the studies made, if it's feasible or not.
Our democracy is not doing well. You mentioned that before. Why does AMLO want to make this decision a public survey? What do you think he's going to gain from this? Or do you think he's just trying to make a more participative democracy?
AMLO doesn't fully know if this project is going to be feasible or not, but he has an idea of what the pros and cons of making this airport are. So his solution is to let the people decide whether if to let this project continue or not with a survey. What he will gain from this, it's the trust of the people by letting them decide whether to make this project or not.
So you're saying AMLO is right by doing this public survey, but what do citizens know about airports, structure, terrains? I mean, people are going to make a decision based on what?
Some people are going to make the decision as to accept this project or not, being in their individual interest or the whole interest to the country. The majority of the people who will vote will not have the base knowledge as if this project is in the best interest in any way to them or to everyone.
Well, I agree with you that people will make the decision based on what's best for Mexico. I don't think anyone will want to see Mexico go down or take a bad decision just because they wanted to. I mean, anyone will want the best for our country. So what can you tell us about this project? You mentioned that AMLO has its pros and cons. What do you think are some pros and cons of making this new airport, like the one in Texcoco?
Some pros and cons of this project. The pros is that it's gonna be close to the city and not in the middle like the current airport Benito Juarez. It creates a good operations center and international connection. It's planned for a long-term operations, 50 million per year initially and 120 million when they're at their maximum operation. Some cons of this project are that the terminal Benito Juarez would have to close, as well as the military base of Santa Lucia where the new airport is going to be made. The project was first announced in 2014 when the US dollar was valued at 13 pesos. Currently in 2018 at 19.30 pesos. The lake Nabor Carrillo, in other words, the lake of Texcoco, will have to be removed, which is a natural reserve where migratory birds land and some other species.
Another point that I'd like to highlight is that Mexico has been a democracy since long time ago. I mean, we can vote for candidates, vote for parties, etc. But when they are in the government, we haven't been able to get them to hear us. I mean, our legislative system is broken. We can choose what we want, except for the candidates I said, but I don't think it's the only way we can participate as citizens. I mean, I think democracy is further than that. And AMLO will give us the opportunity to change that. But maybe this survey is not the right way to start, because it is a very important project that will not only affect the Mexicans, but people that come from another countries, especially tourists. And if it doesn't work, it will directly affect us economically. So what do you think? Is this how democracy should work? Like, get a survey from the president every time he needs to take a hard decision?
Well, I think that this is a way of democracy, but raw democracy, because this sort of decisions should be taken by the president and its council, now that a lot of money is going into it, and it's a very important decision for the whole country.
So we shouldn't stay with this kind of democracy, right? I mean, I'm not sure if I get it.
I would say that this democracy isn't the way to go. The way to go should be the president taking the decision based on the studies made and the advice from his council.
So the survey will be held this weekend. We will get 4 days to vote, and the result will be given by the end of the month. What do you think it will happen if people vote for the new airport? What if they don't choose the option that AMLO gave? Do you think he will keep doing these surveys, or he will stop doing them, or he will think it's fraud like he did in the past elections?
If AMLO doesn't get to do the votes, I think that this is not going to affect the future decisions, as if to make more votes to decide to make other investments or other type of decisions for the country. I think that he will still make them, because I think that that's his mindset to organize or to include all of the people in the country's decisions.
What we can all agree is that we need a new airport. The one in Mexico City is not feasible, and any choice will be better than staying with this airport. The thing is that if people choose to continue with the new airport, like if the results gave to continue with the new airport, the people who didn't want it to happen, who are mostly AMLO supporters, will not be comfortable with the results. And otherwise, it will happen the same. So it doesn't matter what the result is, people will not be comfortable with this result. But this is how democracy works. There will always be two sides of every choice, so we can't do a lot for it. Well, to conclude, we all agree our democracy is not the best one. We hope we get a better democracy with AMLO. We also, I agree with you, Francisco, that it's not the best way to do democracy by asking citizens to take choices, hard choices. But I guess we will have to live with it, and maybe in the future we can get a better democracy. What do you think?
Asking people to vote for this type of decisions, I think it's a good idea, but in this case of the airport, I don't think that it's the most convenient way to handle this situation.
Okay, so this is the end of our podcast. Thank you, Francisco, for coming. We will see you next time when the results arrive, and we will talk more about democracy and the decision of AMLO.
Thanks a lot for this interview, and I hope I was helpful, and thank you.